All right, so you should have your bell ringer. You should have already completed it. So how do you convert fractions to decimal? It's literally what we did 2 classes ago, and we talked about it last class. So you're going to divide. Take the numerator, then you divide by the denominator. Okay? What's a terminating decimal? A decimal that ends or stops. Remember, terminating, terminator, anything that ends. Okay? Repeating, a decimal that has a pattern. It has to have a pattern that goes on and on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. So if you do 2 divided by 3 in your calculator, you get 0.66666666666, and then your calculator actually rounds it so it has a 7. But that 6 is what's repeating. So you need to have 0 and 6/10 with a line over it, and it is repeating. 2 divided by 5, 0 and 4/10, and it is terminating. It stops. 1 and 3/4. What is that? Is a mixed number. Improper fraction. Sorry, that is a mixed number. That would be 7/4. So that is 1 and 75/100 and is terminating. Okay? And there's your last one. Make sure that Miss Davies' class, you turn that in. All right, so on the first page of your packet, you need to box those words that are in the very top left-hand corner that I have boxed. I'll give you a minute, pause the video, and do that. All right, welcome back. So I need you to star that technology tip. That's super important, super important. And the math terms, those are also super important, okay? All those things are very important. So what I want you to do is, it says right here, the square root of 2 is this number, right? If I put in my calculator, that's what I'm going to get. But again, your calculator stops, right? It's only so big. It can only show you so many numbers. So is that the entire value of pi? You should know that pi goes on and on forever and ever and ever. So this is what we need to have. No, pi goes on forever and ever without repeating or terminating. Okay? So this is all you see, but there are people who have gone to the millionths place. Like, have a million numbers after that decimal. Okay? So if you do the same thing with the square root of 2, it's the same thing. No, square root of 2 goes on forever and ever without repeating or terminating. Okay? So what is the difference between decimals of rational numbers? So what we did, 2 classes ago, right, with our dividing of fractions, we got those decimals that were either terminating or repeating, versus these irrationals where you only see part of your answer. That is the difference. A calculator is going to round, or we have to round, with irrational numbers, okay? So with irrational numbers. A rational number will begin to repeat or will terminate, while an irrational will go on forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Okay? So take a minute, pause, write that down. Welcome back. Next page. So use this number line and the method described in parts A through F below to determine the approximate value of square root of 18. So which perfect square is less than 18 but closest to 18? So if we look at this right here, these are our perfect squares. So where does 18 fall? In between which two numbers of these? 16 and 25. It says what perfect square is less than 18? So which of these two numbers is less than? 16. Good. So we're going to put 16 on this line. Which perfect square is greater than 18? That's our 25. So we're going to put 25 here, okay? So I'm going to put a dot on the 16 on my number line and a dot on my 25 on my number line, all right? Now it says, what is the square root of the first integer? So what is the square root of 16? Well, if we look at our little chart up here, right, we have 16, well, that's 4 times 4, so the square root of 16 is 4, okay? Write the square root above the integer on the number line. So the square root of 16 equals 4. Now, the other one, what is the square root of 25? Where does that fall? That falls at the number 5. Okay? All right. Ready to move on. So, we have the square root of 16 equals 4. The square root of 25 equals 5. Now it says put an x on the 18. It should be between the two perfect squares. Is it in between this and this? Yes, which is good. Is it closer to the smaller one, 16, or the bigger one, 25? It's closer to 16. All right? What number do you think? It says write a decimal number to the nearest tenth that you think would be the square root of 18. So the square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of 25 is 5. That means that the square root of 18 is somewhere in between the number 4 and the number 5. So, do you think it'd be closer to 4 squared or 5 squared? Think it'd be closer to 4 squared or 5 squared? Well, probably 4 because it's closer to 16. So what I want to try is I want to look at these and say, all right, what do we think? Do we think it's closer to 4.1 squared, 4.2 squared, or 4.3 squared? Let's try it. In your calculator, try 4.1 times 4.1 and tell me what you get. $16 and 81/100. Well, let's try 4.2. What is 4.2 times 4.2? 17 and 64/100. All right. Let's try 4.3 and see. That's 18 and 49/100. So, 4 and 2/10 squared is going to be about, if you were to round this, right, 18. It's a little bit off. All right, so, again, if that makes no sense, hang tight, okay? Let's try this. So, the square root of 42, where does it fall between? Which two of these numbers? 36 and 49, right? 36 is on this side, 49 is on this side. If I take the square root of both of those, this is 6, this is 7, right? Do you think it's closer to 36 or closer to 49? Kind of in the middle, ain't it? So let's kind of try our 6 and 4/10, 6 and 5/10, and 6 and 6/10, okay? So I'm just going to multiply. I'm just going to square all three of those and see where we're at. Put those in your calculator and see what that math gives you. 40 and 96/100. Yeah, that doesn't seem super high, does it? Ooh, that one's really, oopsies. We don't really even need to go farther than that, do we? Because this is going to be the closest we're going to get. All right? So it's going to be, so the square root of 42, right? It's going to be about 6 and 5/10. All right? Now, 98, where does that fall between? Right here. Look right here. Where does it fall between? 81 and 100. Okay? Take the square root of 81. What is that? 9. Square root of 100? 10. Okay? So, is it closer to 81? Or is 98 closer to 100? Probably 100. So let's try some high decimals, right? Let's try 9 and 7/10, 9 and 8/10, and you know what? Let's just do 9 and 9/10. Let's see where we end up. So 9 and 7, 9 and 8, and 9 and 9. Okay, again, I'm just multiplying the number by itself. So we have 9 and 7/10 times 9 and 7/10. That's 94 and 900ths. That's not really close. $96 and 400ths. That's not really close. $98 and 100ths. Ooh, I don't think you can get any closer than that. So the square root of 98 is about 9 and 9/10. Okay? Now, we've talked a little bit today about irrational numbers. So again, an irrational number is those things that, like those non-perfect squares, pi, you know, things like that. So out of these options, which one do you think the irrational numbers would be? Well, this is a decimal that terminates, so that ain't gonna happen. We talked about rational numbers were any fraction, so this right here would be our answer. All right? Now, the square root of 92, didn't we just do that one? Oh, no, we did 98, okay? I want you to try and do A, okay? So pause your video and see what you get for A. All right, and the square root of 26. All right, so now the very last thing is ordering. So here's what I'm going to teach you, this trick of the trade, okay? On your calculator, I want you to put in 16 and then push that radical symbol that looks like that. So you should get 4. Okay? I then want you to, sorry, my voice. I want you to do the same thing with 14. Okay? So if you're looking from least to greatest, which one's the smallest? These two 3s, which one's smaller? 3 and 6/10, which one's the next smallest? Square root of 14, which one's the next smallest? That square root of 16, which is 4, and then 4.1. Okay? Do the same thing with B and then come back to me. Good. All right, now the very last one. Square root of 10 falls between which two numbers? 3 and 4. Well, 3 and 4 are both bigger than 2, so that's going to go there. Square root of 49 is 7. 50 is bigger than 49. So it's there. The cube root of 8. Don't worry about that one. Okay? Try this one on your own. Okay, that is what you should have. Way to go.